Hello everyone, welcome back to Railroader and the Silva Overland Railway. It's been a couple weeks since the last stream, but Easter things and prep for Easter, and there was a lot going on. So, hope everyone had a good Easter season. As you can see, with the coming of Easter, things have gotten pretty green out here. In fact, I kind of forgot how green this game gets. But we are still working on expansion. Our last car for the Fontana extension should be showing up pretty soon. Sometime this afternoon, although I do still have to set that interchange. Now, we have unlocked no new engines, but we did get the Combine. Unfortunately, right now we cannot afford the Combine. So, Combine is going to have to wait. Sorry, Midland. I know you're probably not watching, but in case you are, sorry. I know how much you appreciate the Combine. So, right now, our goal is just to get the morning switching done here in Bryson. We'll grab all the outbounds, including these cars. We'll also tackle all the switching down in Whittier. And that way, when afternoon comes, we will be all ready to go. And then we can just grab the next set of cars and bring them on out. Let's see, how's 11 doing? Is 11 loaded up? 11 is fully loaded, so let's get 11 over here. Now, hopefully in-game tomorrow, we should be able to get a more powerful engine. I'd love to get a C25. I don't think we'll be able to get that. But we are also working our way up to bigger log cars, and slowly getting better passenger cars, although really that's more to increase our scrapping options. Now this is all the outbound stuff. Let's get 11 or 12 over on the inbound stuff. This is a lot of cars. I know it looks like a lot. Most of these are empty. There's like 3 loads in this whole thing. Bounce back to Bryson. I did grab another log car. Just seems like it's a good idea to get some. So we will overhaul that and we'll have another log car. Feel like you can't have too many of those, right? And then this and this can easily pop over here, reverse the engine, and we'll be ready to get all the stuff for Appalachian hardwood. And then we can also start pulling all the outbounds. There's a few around. And, oh look, we're scrapping... I mean, it's a different tender, but we're basically scrapping this one's twin. That's a bit sad. Now, if a Combine shows up in the used market, we are going to grab it, I think. But I'm not counting on it. But that might have to wait for tomorrow. Now, one concern also is how many cars can we actually take over the hill to Alarka Junction? Because that is kind of a steep grade up there. And I'm not sure our little 440s can handle 2 of them at once. Aaron, kick off your handbrake. And for now, I'm just going to shove these pretty much all the way up, and then we'll start picking cars off them. These two have to go into town and facing different ways, but this one is just going straight to the shop. So no big issue there. Meanwhile, you now grab the scrap engine. Now, I have noticed there's been a big uptick in people watching my Infinite Rails videos, and it does sound like the game is getting more popular. I do need to do some adjusting before I go back into that game, because last time I played it, one of my engines and 4 of my cars just kind of went poof. The save file says they're still in the game, but I don't know where. So I might need to go find one of those third-party tools someone made and try and figure it out. I've also kind of hit a wall in that there's now 2 mills and 2 freight depots, but the mills are charging more for lumber than the freight depots will pay for them. So there's really no money to be made doing that. So aside from going in and, you know, maybe working on signals a bit, I might not go back to that game until the next update, which should add, I'm told, coal and water as industries. I wonder what needs coal and water. Coal and water. Not sure. I guess we will see. But until then, Railroader will always be there for us. Even if we're still waiting for the maintenance way update. Well, I guess I could also try Derail Valley one of these days. I mean, I've played it, but I haven't tried streaming it before. But for now, we've got this stuff to drop off. We do make a lot of money scrapping. Yesterday, you can see we earned 1,600 off of that. And that is substantial. And I think the day before we made even more. If I can find it. Yeah, the day before was 1,900. It's all really based on how much stuff you've brought into scrap. Right now, we've been spending more money on research and new equipment, so we haven't really been scrapping as much. We'll pop back here. We're gonna just shove these over onto the log car track for a bit. We do have to go up and grab the log cars, because according to the map, they're ready. That will be once we finish switching all of this. I think we've got enough logs in here. Yeah, that'll last for a little while. We'll shove those in there. We'll take the coal car back, and then we'll start putting these cars away. And hopefully they will go away quickly. I am working on a couple other things. Hopefully all of you watched the $35 challenge video I put out. That was a couple weeks ago now. It's based on one of Laurie's videos, so if you haven't seen his 25-pound challenge, go watch that so you have context. He did talk to me a bit afterwards, and I learned some good stuff. I do think we will do that challenge again. I'm not entirely sure when. Also recently, I was able to go see the opening of the newest light rail line, the Sound Transit Line 2 Crosslight connection, and that travels on a floating bridge over Lake Washington. And if that doesn't sound impressive, just go back to like the 1880s when we were still figuring out this train stuff, and imagine telling someone that they would be able to ride a 200-ton electric train across a floating bridge made of steel and concrete over a lake that is like several hundred, if not 1,000 feet deep. They would probably call you mad. And yet, that is now an everyday reality for the fine folks in Bellevue, and Seattle, and Redmond, and all those other places. Tacoma is going to have to wait a little bit longer for us to get the light rail. But that is a whole nother story. So we just need to kick that over there. And I find it's usually, this is a good time to turn on the Y. We've got plenty of coal and water, so we don't have to worry about that. We might as well go grab that boxcar while we're at it, though. So that'll now continue loading up on repair parts. And 12 is also where it needs to go. So next stop, we got, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxcars and a gone. Keep in mind, our sawmill is at tier 4 right now. And we've got some other stuff that'll be up to tier 5 tomorrow. I did step this one a bit so that we didn't get overwhelmed with cars. We do want money, of course, but we also need to make sure that we can afford to haul all of this. I've heard there are a few railroads that went bankrupt because they had tons of business, but had to spend a lot of money to be able to handle that business and then couldn't pay all their bills as a result. And we do not want to be one of those railroads. We want to be a successful one. Alright, tail, tail, tail. Okay. You do have to be careful with this, with the waypoint mode and the Ys. Sometimes it tries to send you the wrong way. And just in case, we will pop a flare there. And that way the passenger train will stop short if needed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And away they go. So what am I going to do with these cars? I gotta think about that. Because they don't point the same way. The house track car has to go behind, the tank car has to go in front. I guess we come here, shove the box car there, do the tank car, pick up this box car, and then run around? Yeah. I think that's what we do. I think that's the game plan. It'll take a while, but that's the game plan. Passenger train. Okay, just got through Gov Island. We should have plenty of time to get this boxcar. We'll put the caboose up here somewhere. And then run around. And we got plenty of stuff to pick up. I do think the next thing we end up doing is taking one of those 440s and making it the Bryson switcher. And then this engine becomes the new passenger engine. And whatever engine we buy next becomes the road freight. Because one thing I found myself doing when I didn't do that, and I expanded before I got a fourth engine, is I would leave a passenger car here. When I had a 3-car passenger train, I'd leave one here, and then that way I was only taking 2 of them over the hill. Which, you know, it kind of works. It's a lot of effort, though. Now, I think I decided there wasn't really anything I was super keen on scrapping this time. At this point, I'm trying to get the absolute rock bottom price on scrappable stuff. And we really didn't have that this time. So we will see what happens in the afternoon. In the meantime, more funds. And yeah, I probably will do some manual running at some point in this mess. And of course, for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome, welcome. We are playing with the Roundhouse Research mod and a host of other mods. How this works is, we do not start the game with every single locomotive and car. Although, thanks to mods, we do look like we do. We started off with the weakest engine and the smallest capacity equipment, and we have to pay money to research bigger and better things. We've researched up to 20,000 pounds of tractive effort for our engines. Boxcars, hoppers, pulpit cars, tank cars, those haven't changed capacity. We have gotten up to 4 log cars. And we've managed to upgrade 1 car, so now we have the Boonton Compine. But we still need to get the open platform coach and then everything beyond that. And there's a lot beyond that. You know what? We'll just put that there, because we're already lined that way, and I don't want it, yeah. Minimize our backup moves. Passenger train coming into town behind Patrick. Oh yeah, and this is also a mod. This is the Northern Pacific Caboose. I don't remember who made this one. Something to note about the Northern Pacific Caboose as opposed to all the default ones is that it actually has weight to it. If you go look on the list, this thing weighs 16 tons. Well, no, 18 tons almost. Whereas the default cabooses are like 3 tons, which is unrealistically light. On the other hand, these things cost a lot. This one does not. And we bought it used, so it costs even less. That's strategy, you know? Okay, what's 12 doing? 12 is ready to shove more cars in. Oh, no. I mean, you're still going the right general direction, so... That does get annoying when that happens. Just forget which engine you're controlling. I'm sure that happens to everyone. Oh, I forgot to turn on the game audio. That would probably help. At least this time I remembered to turn my mic on. There was a stream a couple of weeks ago where I didn't notice that my mic wasn't hooked up. So I think I need to turn that up a bit. I can't remember how I have all this balanced now. But I think I have to change it a bit from game to game. So this will take, and that'll take a while to unload because we got a lot of people. Actually, that one's almost done. That one's also almost done. Okay, never mind. But we will turn this engine, and it is okay. It's doing fine on coal and water. So we'll just turn this train on the Y and send it back. So 11 can go to the far side of the Y. And we'll probably do a time skip once it does that, just because I don't want this game day to take forever. So now we need to send you back to get all of that. Yep, thank you, Gary and Old Wolf. I'm glad I'm not the only one who has that issue. Now, I've kind of been keeping an eye on new mods for Railroader, not super tight, just because I've already got so many. And with MOW hopefully eventually coming, that'll probably break a lot of mods. In fact, I don't know if even Scrapalachio will survive. But I do know there's ones that take you from Silva to Asheville, the historical endpoint of the Murphy branch. There's ones that go down from Alarka. There's ones that add all sorts of branches. Actual Graham County Railway. The original line via Fontana. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. But I gotta say, for running just me, I don't really want to see all those mods. And again, most of them that are track mods require rail loader, which is not impossible, but difficult to get now. That said, if you do like looking at some of these mods, I do recommend you go check out Angry Ragtimer's streams. He's taking a little break from streaming right now, but he'll be back, and you can still find his VODs up on his YouTube channel. Once again, that is The Angry Ragtimer. Oh, well, now you need to finish, don't you? How far can I send you before you tell... Okay, that's too far. I want you to go backwards. Anyway, you can see some of the stuff we're scrapping right now. We got a couple boxcars. We got 4 engines now. 10-wheeler Pacific and 2 more Little Americans. You also might notice some of these have different tenders. Like this one has the tender off a G25, that's from a mod. This one's actually got the tender off a bigger 10-wheeler, that's a mod. And in fact, wherever it is, this thing's got the tender off an S23 switcher, because I like the higher capacity. Everyone will have to start a new save. Okay, I was not aware of that. So, what that means is when MOW hits, I'm going to have to, I guess, sandbox back up to what we've got at whatever point the update hits, which will probably be a pain in the buttocks, but doable. And it might mean some things change. But you know what? So it is. If that takes a few days longer than I anticipated, we'll play something else while I'm working on that in the background. In any case, I think the MOW update should be worth it. Because it seems like there's going to be a lot of good stuff in there. So now we want to grab that, and we'll dump all that over here. And I saw 12 is, well, 15 needs to finish going to the station. And then 12 needs orders. That should get the boxcar clear of the spur. Okay, I haven't found the specific info, but it was on a WNCR stream. That's true. It will be experimental before it hits main, so that should give mod makers the time to get things caught up. Assuming it doesn't change between experimental and main, but we'll see. And you know, if it breaks every mod in the game, we'll just say another storm hit and we're recovering from that. And maybe I'll just throw this railroad in debt. We are trying to do a no-debt stream game, of course. Okay, so it is in the Railroader Discord. I'm not actually in that Discord just because I'm in, like, 24 others, and I try not to get overwhelmed. But if you are in the Railroader Discord, yeah, follow what Garion said and you'll find the info. So then, let's see, those ones go there. Oh, but I did that a little backwards. Oops. Okay, well, we kind of had to do it in this order anyway. So this will take a few switches, and I might just switch to manual for that. And, oh, well, those are loaded up, so we're just gonna highball back to Whittier. Do we have any cars to pick up in Ela? Okay, no pickups in Ela this time. Okay, thank you. I will take a look at that. One of these days I'll figure out how to stream stuff. Stream things like this. Okay. If you have a save and want to go into experimental, you will need to start a new save. That is good to know. Thank you, Gary and Old Wolf. In any case, that is a future us problem. Something to consider for now, but it is ultimately a future us issue. And future us will deal with it when future us is now us, or when we are future us. Well, glad one of us watches their streams. I watch the special memorial stream, but again, I watch so much other stuff I otherwise tend not to watch it. And also, it took me a while to figure out that the ad blocker I've got on Microsoft Edge, yes, I use Edge as my main browser here, but the Malwarebytes ad blocker on it did not play nicely with the way that WNCR does his ads. It kept ending the stream for me. Eventually I figured out I can watch it on if I have Chrome as my browser, because I don't have the ad blocker installed on Chrome for whatever reason. It is interesting how he does his ads. They do essentially split screen with the actual video. They don't split the audio, they just split screen in the ads audio. Interesting way of doing it, I'll say that much. Well, hopefully at some point in the stream we'll get to the new cars. Yeah, again, I think it's the way they do their ads, because it split screens but keeps the video. And the way that Malwarebytes ad blocker seems to work is it speeds up and then ends the ad to get back to the main video. But because it WNCR plays their ads alongside the video instead of overriding it, it seems to do weird things. And hello, Godzilla King 3347. Glad you enjoyed. Hang around. Right now we're working on Appalachian hardwoods, and then we've got some stuff to pick up. The second set of cars for the extension to pick up, and the third ones would be coming. Third ones will be coming sometime this afternoon. Okay, so you need to go there. I am actually going to skip time forward an hour. Thank you! Be sure to go watch the last, 8 streams in this series. And if that's not enough for you, I've got a whole nother, 53 episode season before this. That one was an interesting one because we started in Andrews and worked our way back to Whittier instead of the other way around. And the way I did that was sandboxing the start and then putting down wrecked trains that we had to clear away instead of having to pay to unlock milestones. It worked. It was fun. Definitely a challenge having to start with red marble. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I tend to stream Railroader about once a week. Generally on Wednesdays. Sometimes I'll throw in an extra stream on Sunday, and sometimes that extra stream, if it happens, is another game. Like I said earlier, Infinite Rail seems to be picking up in popularity. Well, good for you. Admittedly, adding the second interchange, just adding a second interchange can add some complexity to the game, and having to deal with the 4.5% of red marble is oof. Especially when you remember that it's still 3.9% on the other side, so you really do need helpers going both ways. I think, as I recall, one of the grades on the Asheville extension is 2% going eastbound or westbound, and then 4.5 going west. No, 2.5 going west and 4.5 going east, or something like that. Point being, that one you really only need a helper going one way if you block your trains right. But red marble, you really need them both ways. And yet, it is definitely a train wreck, and sometimes that is literal. I guess Montrose would be as bad as red marble, because Montrose is the mod? Where's our passenger train? Passenger train is almost to Ela. Okay, so we need to pick up those, and then I think we're ready to head back. Yeah, nothing else to pick up here. So, I have a lot of mods. Let's see if I can pick. Let me see. Is it this one? No. So here is a list of all the mods I have. Only one of them is a map mod, and it's a pretty small one. But I've got Mac and CJ's Loco customizations. I've got the M50 Mountain, because Mountain! There's 2 of them for the A12440, which is what engines 11 and 12 are. I've got the box cab, I've got the RS1. Asset loader is needed for a lot of other mods. The Boonton coaches, the Great Northern M2 articulated. I think that goes with something else. I've got whistles, I've got F units, I've got the Skookum, which I don't really use now. I've got the Jeep 38. Lego Train has a ton of mods that are used to build other mods, so I've got all of those. I don't remember what that one is. Oh, that's the D85. Yeah, I think so, Garion. Northern Pacific log cars. This one lets you pick which interchange cars go to, generally for a reduced fee. Although you can change that. I've got some of the Raider Streamliners. I've got some special box cars. Roundhouse Research, I explained it earlier, I'll explain it again in a moment. Freight car trucks, more cars, and another 280. So that is a pretty big list, just saying. Now, the Roundhouse Research one is the one that's kind of critical to the way the save works, so let me explain that one again. How it works is, we don't start with all our stuff. We started off with the weakest engine, and then all the weakest other equipment. We have to pay money to research better things. So for engines, it goes by tractive effort. We started at 12,000, we're up to 20,000. I've been researching better log cars, so we've got now cars that can haul 4 logs. There aren't any that haul 4 logs. But we can also research better box cars, hoppers, pulpwood, tank cars. And passenger cars, same way. We started off with just the Boonton coach, now we can also do the combine, and we're gradually working our way up to bigger and better cars. Here's that 440 I was talking about. It is a mod. So the game figured out, or rather the Roundhouse Research figured out that this was the weakest engine despite being a mod, and blocked off all the default engines. Which, you know, made this save a little more tricky, but it was pretty cool. Alright, now that we've got all of this, let's go grab our caboose and we can head back to Whittier. That'll take a bit. In the meantime, okay, this guy needs to go there, but our passenger train is coming pretty quick, so I don't think I want to do that quite yet. You mean the big C&O 210-4? I don't actually have that mod. I just feel like that one's overkill. That said, the M2, the big articulated, I can't show you now, but that one also has a huge amount of tractive effort, so I would probably get that one anyway, at some point. Because our goal, as you can see, is to eventually go all the way from Silva to Alarka. And so we will be hauling lots of coal, lots of copper, lots of other stuff. We'll have to handle all of this, so we will need a big engine. That said, our goal is also to dieselize the railway, so we'll probably end up doing that before I get up to the M2, but I might get one anyway, because why not? It does mean there will be a lot of engines getting scrapped at some point in the future, because once we can get to diesels, we will be getting a lot of them. Although we also might just sell our steam engines, depends on their condition. I generally try and keep my equipment in top-notch condition. Don't tell that to my log cars though, because there's a few that are definitely busted up. So yeah, we'll just wait here until the passenger train has come in and is ready to go turn around. Where is said passenger train? It is just outside of Whittier. And, okay, number one. Yeah, number one's going to have to go past the caboose and then come back to it. Don't know why it's going so slow though. It must have like over applied its brakes or something. Sometimes the AI does that. So yeah, here comes the passenger train. Oh, and also I can kind of demonstrate one of the other cool mods I like. I used this one a bunch in the last save, in the last season. So this is the specify interchange mod, interchange designator. Now, if I had more interchanges in service, I could say that this industry will only take and receive cars from East Whittier, or Silva, or Andrews. In this case, since I only have East Whittier open, that's the only one that matters. But if I had others open, or if I'd modded more in, I could choose which interchange. Now, by default, that reduces the payment you get for the cars by forcing the interchange. But you can change that, and I did to just be 100%. And I said, well, that's what the that's what the industry wanted. So, you know, story, gameplay separation, I think is the term for that. But it definitely made it a lot easier to handle some of these industries, because it meant that, like, the big mill at Whittier only went to Whittier. The big mill at Andrews only went through Andrews. Some of the other stuff could come from other directions, but most of it only went to the one interchange. And that simplified logistics a lot. It's definitely more of a mod for if you like to have a big map, though. Okay, this might take a while. Yeah, we've got more than half the coach to unload. You know, it might actually be faster for this guy to come around the top end. So let's have him do that. And then he can actually get out while the passenger train is turning. Otherwise, I think he'd get stuck. Oh yeah, that would also be good help for that. Yeah, if Angry isn't using that one, maybe we should point it out to him. Yeah, I mean, it's enough of a pain when you've got cars at, like, one of the paper mills, and some of them go to one interchange and some go to the other, and they're all mixed together, and you can't figure out, and you have to split them apart one by one. He's a mess. Okay, actually, no. You go to Ela because we still have to get the passenger train through. Okay, you got all your peoples. And we're going to time skip 1 hour, and then we will tell the interchange to do its thing. Okay, yeah, maybe he used to have it. I think it might be a fun one to put back. It would also probably, yeah, it would simplify his switching a lot. Oh wait, I think I meant to set the interchange and then do the time skip. Oops. Well, we will do a longer time skip later on. Still doing pretty good on coal and water. I think next trip to Bryson we need a reload, though. Yeah. Well, remember, the interchange designator means that you get a little less money. But it simplifies things a lot, so maybe you earn less per car, but you save money by not having to do lots of switching and such? Shrug? The other thing to check when the clock rolls to noon is we ought to check and see if we can get more stuff from the used market. One thing I've limited myself to is I've said that I can only get stuff on the used market that I can also get on the regular market. So, like, even though I could get, you know, Jeep 38 or SD7 or big steam engine, I can't get those normally, so I'm saying I can't get those on the used market. That one is a self-imposed restriction, but I think it makes sense. Otherwise, I could cheese the research entirely. And we're actually right about where the stream started in terms of what our passenger train's doing. And actually, you are going to be stuck for a little while longer because the passenger train's about to block the way back to Whittier. Yep. I agree, Garion. So we're just going to sit and wait for you. Oh yeah, because I also have a mod that, or I think it's Lego's Caboose mod. Oh, well, hang on. You might have seen a Santa Fe. Yeah, Santa Fe on the used market. Can't afford it anyway. But because I have the Caboose mod, there is a speed limit on all AI trains. So if your train doesn't have anything on the end, it can only go 25 miles an hour. You can set the slider to whatever you want. If it has a passenger car on the end, it can go 35. If it has a caboose, it can go 40. If it's got an observation car, it can go 45. Subject to whatever track speeds there are. So, for example, that means this passenger train, which has a regular passenger car on the end, even though it does have markers on it. Those markers are not set correctly, though. Let's fix that. Yeah. The Roundhouse research could be a pain. If you start with... Well, if you start with Kirkland or Montrose, and you have something that forces you to start with an absurdly weak engine. That sounds like an angry Wheel of Pain type of stream. You could cheat it a bit and like start on day 3 and give yourself a lot of money so you can do a lot of research right from the get-go, but yeah, it could lead to some interesting stuff. I know at one point he kind of did something similar where the first day he only used the 440, and then the next day he was allowed to get bigger engines, and the next day he was allowed to get bigger engines. But Roundhouse research kind of forces that. But as I was saying with the speeds, our freight train, well, it's not doing it right now, but our freight train has a caboose on the back. So it can actually go up to 40 miles an hour, even though our passenger train is limited to 35. Which is a bit goofy. And why I want to research an ops car for it. I actually had to turn off the charter caboose mod, because it was starting me with that. And while those things are absurdly light, they are, again, expensive. And they only hold like 6 to 8 people each. So I had to turn that mod off in order to get actual passenger cars to start with. And speaking of actual passenger cars, you are ready to highball. In fact, I'm even gonna... Well, no, I'll do it to there because then we'll cut off the engine and service it. Yeah, it still limits you to track speed, so no matter what you have, you'll still be limited to 30 on a 30 curve or 25 on a 25 branch. But where speeds allow you to go faster, the train will go faster. So, for example, if we watch 20, number 1, it's coming up on that 30 mile an hour zone. So it's going to be braking down for that. Yeah. Over braking in this case, but yeah, it will obey that speed limit. Oh look, we got a car to pick up. I guess I will adjust the train positioning to do that. And 12 can now escape, so let's have 12 escape. 12 will drop off its car. And then we'll go get the logs. How are these ones doing? Hey look, we already got one car full. And these other ones, well, the other ones are starting to get there. But we do have to go get a lot of logs now. Now, I'm not... We might end up using the Walker branch later this season. I typically don't, because, well, I mean, Connolly is so much more convenient. You don't have to come all the way up and deal with switchback and a switchback and a switchback. We might try using Walker this season. I don't know. You know, once we get more demand. Oh yeah, the modded sawmill hauls so much more cars compared to the stock one. You're not too long. Well, now you're not. Try that again. There it goes. I think it was just slightly bugged. Or maybe it's because I clicked for waypoint before I uncoupled. I don't know. Yeah, we'll drop off that car and then we can go get our logs and bring them down. I would at least like to pick up the next set of extension cars and drop them off at Bryson to finish out the stream, and then I can play the rest of the day off camera, because there won't be much. There won't be much on the afternoon interchange. Okay, so now go pick up the rest of your train. Passenger train will be here shortly. And 12 is still making its way back. I think there's mods for that. With the Northern Pacific cars, which I don't have unlocked yet, there's like a few that hold 5 and a few that hold 6. and pulpwood cards that hold 40 or 50 tons. So that means I actually have the 40-ton ones unlocked right now because they're less than the default. So I will be getting bigger log cars. It's part of the reason I'm going easy on getting log cars right now. Even though I could get more for when the sawmill goes up to tier 5. But we will get bigger log cars. Okay, well now we gotta wait because you're in the way. But you've been dropped off, so now you can head up the mountain and pick up these log cars you dropped off like 4 hours ago. Oh, I guess I can do one thing real quick. Customize. Copy to coupled. Because this one's also an extra. I started color coding them based on which track they goes to. So these ones are red, and then there's another cut that's green. Okay, are you ready? Now you're ready? I wonder how many passengers we didn't pick up. 6. Yeah, it'll be good to get a combine, but we can't get a combine quite yet. We don't have money, and we need to make sure we have money in the evening to pay for the research. But if we get one in the used market, we're getting it. And the used market will change over at noon. I'm actually going to do something a little silly. We're going to send this train up the branch and then back it into the yard. It does put our caboose on the wrong end, but it saves a lot of time turning the train around. So, let's see. Let's go to that real quick. So you don't research what or change what it researches specifically. What you can control is how much money you have to spend for things. So for example, for right now it's set up so that for every $2 you spend, you get 1 pound of tractive effort. I could make that 1 and the research would go faster, or I could make it like 4 and the research would go slower. Same for all of these. Right now it's set up so that I have to spend $2,000 to get 1 more log on each car. These ones I haven't messed with the passenger research ones. I actually haven't messed with any of these because I wanted to do the default values the first time. And then this one changes whether it charges you at midnight or if it charges you at 1 o'clock. Because I tested that at some point. Right, you can't get a diesel in front of a steam engine. It'll just be whatever has the next amount of tractive effort. So, like, the 60-ton box cab will probably get before any of the higher level diesel or steam engines. But at some point, we will get through all the steam engines. It also means that we'll probably get through almost all the diesels before we hit that M2, because the M2 has a crazy amount of tractive effort. And I'm really not sure how it does the passenger cars, because you would think it would do the 60-passenger open platform coach before the 79-passenger Boonton coach. I'm not complaining, because I like the Boontons better anyway. And yeah, so you can see $1 unlocks 5 pounds in your boxcar, $1 unlocks 10 pounds. And if I close out of this and go to the research, you'll see that it'll let you spend anywhere from $0 to $10,000 a day, or 500. But yeah, so if you prefer diesels, you will be having to wait a while to get through to it. Sorry. Again, the easiest way around that is probably to sandbox your game so that on day 1, I guess, you can throw tons of money onto research, skip through a few days until you get a diesel, and then go back to normal play. Either that, or you have to figure out how to cheese in a really weak diesel, and then change the power later. So yeah, if you like running diesels, this mod is probably not the best for you. Now, I do have dieselized the railway as one of the goals. That's not because I like using diesels, I actually prefer steam in this game. Maybe because I don't have to deal with the firing or anything like that. But I figured it'd be fun to make dieselization the part of the goal. Okay, so train 1 is coming through there. Passenger train is at Gov Island. Log train is still working on it. I do think, I don't know if it really makes the game, well, I guess it kind of makes it harder because you have to use weaker engines. Although the fact that I have no debt allowed also weakens things. I do also have Lego's finance mod, so the way loans work is different. In this case, it doesn't matter because I don't want to use loans anyway. We might get rid of that provision later. We'll put like a debt ceiling. We'll see what happens if we start to fall behind on tractive effort versus cargo that we need to carry, or if some random weird thing happens and we find ourselves needing to buy more equipment in a hurry. Maybe I say, okay, well, we can go up to this level of debt. And that way we can actually make use of the modified loan servicing. And yes, Godzilla King, long live Steam. So here comes the freight train. Again, we're going to go up the branch and back into the yard. It's a little goofy, but that's how I want to do it this time. And, oh look! Another car finished. We'll pick that up on the afternoon train. So, once again, overslowed for the branch. So let's see. Today's day 8. Day 9 will be that. So day 10 we can upgrade to tier 5. That ought to be nice. And then day 11 will be the first day on tier 5. We'll just shove all that down here. Oh, did I order the next milestone? Yes, I did order the third one. It would be very embarrassing if I didn't do that, you know? By the way, I do recommend you go check out like the first 3 videos, because I more or less speed ran the Bryson extension and had access to Bryson by the end of day 2. I wasn't able to do the industries until day 3, but I could get a passenger train to Bryson on day 2. And yeah, go watch those first couple streams to see how I did that. It's honestly not too hard, but it does kind of strain your resources a bit. Yeah. If you do things just right, you can in fact do it that quick. It also means that because I delayed unlocking the industries in Whittier and Ela until day 3, I was servicing all 3 towns starting at the same time. But you do have to get your timing down pretty well. Incidentally, I also did another trick, and the reason I waited until day 3 to start serving industries is because if you immediately go for your contracts on day 1, you'll start at tier 1. But if you do your normal passenger runs, and then you go and unlock the industries on day 2, or you go set up the contracts on day 2, you won't get any freight cars on day 2, but you can set your contracts to tier 3, so long as you haven't, like, you know, wrecked your train a dozen times. So it does take a little longer to start earning lots of money, but then you'll get even more, and that's how everything's already up to, like, tier 3 and tier 4. I did not attempt to then repeat that speedrunning performance on Bryce and the Fontana, because I need bigger engines to get over the hill. So there really wasn't much point. So now let's go service this one. And then we need to go get this train turned around. I guess we can start loading up too. Yeah, I'm not going to try and use 2 440s to go over to Alarka Junction. That would go bad. Yeah, Bryce and the Fontana unlocks Alarka Junction. Now, I do seem to recall that one of the other updates as part of MOW, and probably part of the reason you need a new save, is that they're splitting that one. Well, there's kind of splitting that one and Nantahala. So, the next extension takes you to Alarka Junction, and then there's a separate one that gets you to Almond, and then a third one that gets you to Nantahala. They also mentioned adding an interchange at Almond. Okay, so let's see. Okay, there's the green cars. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of interchange gets added at Almond. I don't know the history of this area well enough to know if another railroad ran to Almond. Yeah, it does make a lot of sense, because as is, you get out to somewhere over here, and then you just never use that part. Oh, well, I gotta respot this now. You know, Silva, I don't mind being so big, because there's not really... Well, I guess you could, like, put an interchange at Dillsboro, but you'd have to make the yard default. So you could do, like, Whittier to Dillsboro and then unlock the big paperboard at Silva. But otherwise, there's just not a good place to do that split. And they do charge you a lot to go to Silva. Recall that the base game price for going to Silva is, what, like 10 grand? Alright, let's get this train serviced. Yeah, 10 grand without the discount. 7,500 if you've got it. Still remember when Hyce started his playthrough, and he just, like, he bought Silva right off the bat, went heavily into debt, and then he was struggling to do it with, like, 2 engines. It was very much the ES&D thing to do, but yeah, no, I'm not doing that. The Silver Overland Railway would not do that sort of thing, and we are not sorry to say it. Yeah, I think for a while it was above 0. Not for very long, but for a little bit. It was like 3% for a bit. I joined in on some of those earlier sessions before the mods went out of control. I do like the decoration mods I added for this. It's kind of nice to be able to put new colors on something besides the 440s. Yeah, it was a bit hit and miss as to if that was going to be available for recording or not. That was another reason I kind of stopped. And then you get up to like 30-something people, and it just got out of... It was just too much. I think the last time I did one, I was the Silva Yardmaster, which made things a bit easier. I only had to deal with a few people at once. Well, for now, I guess you can go back there. And then we'll water this one. Uncouple, change the markers, because this is now the rear car. Not too far. And then, yeah, I think once the log cars get into the sawmill, we will do our 2-hour time skip. And we'll just use the turntable to get this thing spun around, so let's line it up. And I think they've also mentioned, I mean, there's been some people clamoring for him to start streaming it again, but I think he's waiting until the MOW update. And again, if you have to redo all your saves when that hits, it makes sense. Oh, one of the boxcars is done scrapping. Yeah, I seem to recall them doing a turntable change. I will say this is not the most painful way of doing it. That would be what was it called? Loco shortline operations. Ugh. That was the worst. Railroads Online was second. This one and Derail Valley are pretty much even. I think this one's a little better. But the way they've demonstrated doing it for Century of Steam is spot on. You know, to just click the end of the table and click the track it wants to go on. I think Angry has a mod for that, actually. But it also makes the turntable instantly change, which is why I don't use it. Because it looks kind of silly when that happens. Okay, now you're just sitting. Just sitting there. Menacingly. Okay, at this point we're basically waiting for the log cars to get in so I can roll time. We do have about twice as much money as when we started this stream, so that's good. It might not be in the current pack, but I know when they were doing the steel mill mod, he had something that did that. So, yeah, you might check with him on that. It might be something that got taken out when he switched from steel mill to, oops, all logs and coal. The steel mill was crazy. I would never add that. That is just too much work for me. Oh, is this the logs? That is the logs. Alright, let's skip forward a couple hours. He did take that out. Okay. So there's our interchange and oops! Oh! Well, never mind. I thought we were going to be ready to haul more logs, but apparently not. Okay, but number 1 has cars to move. So those are local. These ones are all going, though. For the 3 for the freight house. That's a lot. And then the rest for Bryson Bridge. So let's split off these cars. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah. And let's also look at the used market really quick. Anything that's worth buying. Anything we can get super cheap. Like that. Okay, well let's hold off. We do not have a Boonton Combine. We're gonna get that to scrap, because the price you pay for it versus the scrap value, that is a major difference. So now we have to go get you. So we're gonna change this to 105 scrap. And we're just gonna put a big scrap on the side. I think that's how that worked, isn't it? Okay, there we go. And then we tell it we're going to send it to the scrap line. Anything else? Nope, not that. Not that. Not that. Not that. No, just the engine, but you know, that'll still help with getting money from the scrapyard. It might sound weird to say in the age of Steam, but the scrapyard is one of our big money makers. If you haven't used the scrapyard, you probably saw it earlier when I was over in Bryson. Basically how it works is you send things there to scrap, it'll gradually break it down. Oh, hang on, I gotta do this. It'll gradually break it down, and it'll give you scrap metal, which you haul out in gondolas like any other industry, and it gives you repair parts, which you can then use in your own shops. It takes a while to get those repair parts, but you do get them. Oh, no, hang on. And 11. 11 is ready to go, so we're going to send 11 back. Weirdly enough, still no cars for Ela this time around. We got plenty for Bryson, though. And our caboose is in just the right spot, so it'll be a quick grab. Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, every night it will pay you for what it's scrapped. And then also, again, it'll haul out gondolas of scrap. There aren't any in this train, it looks like. But if I teleport over there really quickly, you can see that I've got a car of scrap metal going out and a repair parts car, which for now is just shuttling between here and here because Bryson could use more repair parts. For the time being, East Whittier has enough. It will... You can always get them faster through the interchange is what I found, but you don't have to pay for them here. So it is kind of convenient if you can get them from the Scrapalachia. And that one's a Lego train mod, or Lego train. It's one of his mods, so it does not require rail loader, even though it adds track. But because it adds track, I'm pretty sure it's gonna break during MOW. And we're just gonna leave 12 here for a bit until these cars are ready to go back up the hill. Because these ones can wait. Again, I might get to those off camera. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say so. I've seen Angry using that mod. I've never quite understood how it works. I guess that's right. He's got the one where you can store parts at Silva. I guess another way you could do it is you buy parts through the Silva or Alarka interchanges for those local shops. And then you can use Scrapalachia to get parts for the Bryson shop or the Whittier shop, stuff that's a little bit closer. Because remember that Bryson's more or less the middle of the map, and that's where Scrapalachia is, so you can send repair parts from there to either place. But again, the rate at which it loads parts is dependent on how much stuff you've sent there. So if you're scrapping a lot of stuff, you'll get repair parts quicker. If you're not scrapping a lot of stuff, it'll be slower. Now, looking at these cars, this engine is the only thing that is currently facing points. So I think we're going to do the same thing where I drop this off, and then I shove the rest of the train where it needs to go, once we get to Bryson. And now we see if I can get to Ela before the passenger train does. This is where having the mod boost, or the speed boost from the caboose helps. But just in case, I'm going to drop a few Z there and force the passenger train to wait. Sorry, people. This is a freight railroad. Now, mind you, this is a heavy train. This is kind of a heavy train. It's 800 tons. But I think it'll work. It's pretty flat. I keep forgetting that this tells you distance, but it's like straight line distance. But once we drop off the bridge site cars, we'll be able to go over the hill. I think tomorrow I unlock the A22 and A23. Or no, it's the A22 and the S23. Something like that. I unlock some sort of freight engine. I don't use the waypoint mods because, oh, I did not remember to oil the wheels. You are correct. We, I guess, are going to stop and do that, and that means we're going to have to wait for the passenger train. I always forget to oil the wheels because I haven't had a hotbox in this save yet. And also, I'm used to the AI doing it for me. But in this case, I didn't give it enough time to do it for me. Okay, that one was gonna burn on us for sure. That one's gonna be full. That one's full. Okay, so now we're just gonna go to the edge of Whittier and wait for the passenger train. And I guess in the meantime, we will send 12 out to go do stuff, because this is gonna take a while. But we'll wait for the freight train to get out first. So, we can grab that and kick it down. I already pulled it, but thank you, Garion. Yeah, no, they're not. They're not fun. I think I managed to get away with only 1 or 2 in that 53 episode last season. But they are a pain to deal with. There was someone in another server I'm in, I don't think it was the Hyce server, who figured out how to... He took an HO boxcar and he put a flickering red light behind in one of the trucks to make it look like it had a hotbox, which looked really cool. Okay, so now you need to come up and get behind these cars, and one of them goes to the sawmill and the other one doesn't. Just for kicks, let's see what our loadout at Eel looks like. Fair number of people. Not sure how many are getting off. More people are getting off than getting on. But we're still going to be waiting a little bit. Oh yeah, the reason I'm kind of hoping to get these engines retired and sent to the shop soon, or shed soon, maybe put them on a display track somewhere. Unlike all the stock engines in the game, these ones have wheel slip. The AI doesn't know how to deal with wheel slip. When you're on relatively flat track, that's fine. When you're trying to drag cars up to Connolly Creek or up the Walker Branch or Red Marble, that's not fine. It does not like that. The Skookum is the same way, so that's why I'm not planning to use the Skookum this save, because I AI so much stuff. In the earlier episodes, I was running them manually, but I only had, 2 trains to deal with. And sometimes I was just running one at a time. In this case, we'll be nice soon. Thank you very much, Godzilla King. Enjoy the videos. I would actually recommend watching the rest of this season before going back to Season 1. but that's me. Yeah, the easiest way to prevent wheel slip is you just have to remember that it happens when your throttle is at 100. If you back your throttle off, it doesn't do that. You're welcome. Enjoy. We're gonna shove these in. Yeah, turning on the it depends. Well, it depends. If there's a lot of contracts, yes. If there's not a lot, not really. At least with the next extension, there's only going to be the one contract. Okay, there's the passenger train. He needs to hurry up. I need to get this freight train over to Bryson. The stream's gonna be like 2.5 hours long. I guess there, yeah, I guess there are a lot because you've got the one at Wilmette, you've got, I think, 2 in Dillsboro, maybe 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 in Silva. So that's like, yeah, 7 or 8 contracts. And Silva's an expensive extension because, like, you need more engines to serve it. You need to get the yard. Oh, you've got upper... Okay, well, you've got a mod that adds even more, so that doesn't help either. I'm gonna waypoint you again now. Oh, look, we got another car ready. Yay. There's our passenger train, so we can now tell one to head over to Bryson. There it goes. Goodbye. I'm not going to play all the way to the end of the day on this stream, but I would at least like to get the last set of cars into the track at font for the next extension. Once those are dropped off, I think we'll call it. But that's still at least half an hour out, I think. And then we will start the next stream on next morning at the next interchange. And that stream will probably be next Wednesday. Yeah, The reason for that being that I am going to be at a model train show this coming weekend, and then I've got some volunteer meeting stuff on Sunday, so I can't really stream Sunday. Yeah. This weekend is a bit busy for me. Okay, so now we run around you. Okay, yeah, we still got a lot of people to drop off. Of course, we don't need to pick up coal and water again, because we already did that. Okay, yeah, freight is at that curve. I guess we're about to do another time skip for this passenger drop-off, so that'll hopefully help with getting the logs rotated through. This guy could actually use some coal and water when we get back to the yard. And you're done. I don't necessarily care which way this one goes around the Y, so long as it goes around. Also, on a fun side note, I finally figured out that it makes more sense to start the passenger train in Bryson as opposed to Whittier, so that you don't have, like, 3 trains jamming up Whittier at once. And possibly when I get to Alarka Junction, I will be starting one train from Alarka and one from Whittier. Like, I'll grab all the stuff at Alarka, grab all the stuff at Bryson, take it to Whittier, and then grab the inbound interchange cars. And then while the coal is going up and swapping, I don't know, something. I'll figure it out. Maybe I do the Alarka train separate from the Bryson train. Oh look, we got paid for dropping off a car that we're about to move again. Ha. Okay, one's gonna be slowing down pretty quick. Tell you to go there, yeah, you'll keep going the same way. We'll time skip the 1 hour, which will help with this. And oh look, we finished overhauling that log car, so we can bring that back. The other log cars are still unloading, though. How much is left on that last log car? Okay, 1.2. We're gonna come over here, and I think we're gonna make this part of the green team. So it will unload at Whittier Sawmill and load at Connolly L1. I don't remember what color green it is, so we'll wait till it's with the other ones to do the color swap thing. And you can finish going to the depot. Now, how much was a brand new Boonton Combine again? I think we're still gonna wait, see if we can get a used one. Knowing that we also want to save money to get a new engine in-game tomorrow. Possibly a used one, again, depends on what's available. Because, let's see, There's the S23, there's the A23, and I think there's also like a T21, which I don't see in this batch, but I saw in the last round. So we'll have a few options for new engines. And now 11's, yep, hard brake. That was my fault, I accidentally told it to go there. But yeah, hopefully this will fill up the cars by waiting the hour. And I do have baggage mod turned on as well. Yeah, that one took me a little while to figure out conceptually. And that's another reason I want the Combine, so we can haul some of the baggage in that. And how much was left on that? Okay, a full log left. We're just gonna go grab that. Yeah, it can get you if you forget about it. And, yeah, sometimes... yeah. Sometimes these will fill up on baggage first. Usually they don't. And it seems like once you add a Combine, people start bringing more baggage. So maybe there's that, too. Or maybe that's just me. But in any case, we've apparently emptied out the depot. So we're going to send this off to Bryson. Speaking of Bryson, our freight train is almost there. Doesn't look like we'll have a lot of pickups, just the 2 cars coming back. Well, we might get more depending on how many times we change time while we're switching here. There we go. Train 1, and then we gotta run around. I guess we'll start by taking these 3 cars off and just putting them to the side. And then we'll shove the rest in. Again, I'm kind of motivated by wanting to get the stream over. Just a couple cars to pick up there. I guess 3, because that one will roll over pretty soon. So in the meantime, we'll just focus on what number 1 is doing. And the answer is crawling into town, because I told it to go on this track. It is, yeah. You know, I wasn't sure about mixing the red and white striping, but I think it looks alright. Maybe not fantastic, but it looks alright. And again, we might end up swapping this over to the passenger train once we get a better freight engine. I would like to get one of the K28Ts for the logging branches. Just because. It's based off a logging engine, we'll use it as a logging engine. Also, I've said this before and I'll say this again. Could we please get a bigger Mikado in this game? The 7, or the, what is it, a 90-ton logging mic? The not Sumter Valley 19 is nice, but a bigger mic, really. Alright, since we're going to be going that way, we'll just leave this guy stuck to our tender. And wait a little longer for that. And then we can start dragging stuff over. Yeah, because then when we're done dropping off cars over here, we can just shove this guy into the scrap line and be done with them. So this thing is a little over halfway done. They start at 85% for scrapping progress. That guy is going to be dead soon. That one's got a little bit more. That one's got a lot more, and of course this one we just started. Also, freight cars will scrap faster than passenger cars, or no. Yeah, freight cars scrap faster than passenger cars, which scrap faster than engines. I don't know if there's a correlation between the size of the engine and how fast it scraps. Okay, you're ready, so I'm going to tell you to go here to drop off the first cars, and then we'll put the other one back here somewhere. And meanwhile, everything else just kind of keeps loading. And at some point, this car will tick over and we'll be able to send more logs up the mountain. Yep. There we go. Alright, so let's... You know what, we'll just drop them off real quick. Oh, no, wait, there's a car to pick up. We'll put them up here real quick, and then we'll deal with them later. And then we'll grab these and we'll take them away. And you are getting ready to drop stuff off. Pasture train. Okay, pasture train just dropped off 26 people at Ela and hopefully picked up a whole bunch more than that. Oh, yep, he is slipping. Slippery boy. I might get some more of the custom freight car mods. I kind of get tired of seeing the same boxcars all the time. We'll see. Okay, 12 is there. Technically both cars are there, but actually not really. I'm gonna kick this one back and then we'll send this to get coal and water. That is dropped, so we'll leave everything there. So we can send. I do think they also mentioned something about getting custom loads with MOW, so that'll be good. It will be interesting to see how MOW changes this game. There might be some other fun, neat little things they haven't told us about yet. Okay, that's got the C-25 tender. Yeah, optimization would be good so it doesn't lag quite so much. And maybe things load in a bit faster. We will see. That's something all games kind of need. Some more than others. Sorry, what? Okay, we'll just get you set up. Passenger train is at Gov Island. So we got plenty of space to work with. Dunk. So now, up the branch we go. go ahead and let this thing go back into the shop and touch up for a little bit. It's at, what is it at? It's at 99%. Something else I did in the last season is I just invented that there was some old codger up on the Walker Ranch that needed to be brought down. And then after I did that, I adjusted the wear rate, or the oil usage rate, and cut it in half because I was tired of dealing with it. I am not opposed to doing that again. I'm just saying. Messing with these rates. Oh yeah, and I also joked about this on an Angry stream once. Taking a map with tons and tons and tons of industries and setting this to hostile. That would be a wheel of pain for sure. I might try it one step down from blocked by destination for fun. Give you a little bit of sorting to do. What's this guy at? Yeah, it's still at 81%, so not too bad. Considering the engine is at 2%. Sheesh. Yeah, this thing was definitely worth only 800 bucks. Yeah, hostile would be insane with a ton of industries. And then, of course, remember the bit about, you know, having to do multiple interchanges per industry? You'd never get anything done. It would be nothing but switch, 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 switch. I think I need to move these cars further up, actually. Yeah. All right. These cars are now safely at the bridge site. Hard break. So I think we're going to call the stream here pretty quick. I'll just get this typed down and send this over. Again, I will play out the rest of this off camera. Okay, well, this one will be ready to pick up pretty soon. And then tomorrow we will have this done, and we will be trying to go to Alarka Junction with 4 engines, all of which are too weak to do so. Good times! And of course I will be jumping straight into trying to get the Alarka YA and the Alarka Water Tower set up, and the Alarka branch. I'm gonna go to Alarka before I go to Silva. Just simple as that. I hope you enjoy the stream. If you do, do the usual YouTuber like, subscribe, bell, blah 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 things. You know, the stuff you like hearing every single time you watch a video. Up, 11 has reached the station. Excellent. Well, this thing will be pretty soon getting turned around. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good time, go in peace, and take care.